Tide goes in, tide goes out. Today on the Atheist Viewpoint, the Reddit Ask Me Anything questions. Hello, and welcome to Atheist Viewpoint. Today is a special edition of the Atheist Viewpoint, the Reddit Ask Me Anything questions. Now, the good people of Reddit have put together a list of questions to ask me. I'm going to answer them on these questions one at a time. It's not going to be the most visually stimulating episode that we've ever done, but it should be pretty fun. I'm going to just answer them in response to the way they're listed, the top 20 comments or the top many comments, depending on how much time we have. For those of you who are not familiar with Reddit, there is a section of Reddit, the /r/atheism, and basically what they do is they ask a question, they upload it, they uptick it or downtick it, and so the most popular questions bubble to the top. And so I'm going to be answering the most popular questions now. The first question is from Silencer LX. What is it going to take for America to take that vital turn towards science and free thought? What chain of events do you think need to happen before this can be possible? Well, Silencer, the good news is that that chain of events has already begun. The first step that would have to be taken is that people have to break free of this bond of religion. They have to actually break free from the mentality that religion needs to be in their lives, needs to be in everybody's lives, and needs to be a part of America. What we're seeing here on a national level is a huge growth of secularism, a huge growth of atheism. We are the fastest growing group in all 50 states. Now, that's huge. And about 30% of the under 30 crowd are secular. This is what has to happen. That's the first step. It's already happening. These people have to have a means to communicate with each other. And thanks to the wonderful social networking that we have in Facebook and MySpace and LiveJournal and, of course, Reddit, we have a wonderful way for people to work with each other, use meetup.com, get together, and gain their strength in numbers. The next thing that we have to do is use our strength to break those bonds that a religion has on our government and on the rest of the people. Not so much by forcing people to stop being religious, that's not what I'm talking about, but to break the stereotype that you have to be religious to be good, you have to be religious to be patriotic, you have to be religious to be elected. We must break those bonds. In order for that to happen, we must put a face on atheism. We must put a face to the label as much as possible, demonstrate that good people can be all these wonderful things. The rest will come to it. The rest will come to us. Remember, we not only have force from the inside, but we also have force from the outside. We have Europe, we have Canada, pushing atheism out of the closet from outside because they're much less religious than we are. They're coming in, we're coming out. It's going to be a very, very good thing. The turn of this chain of events that you're talking about, it's already happening, and all we have to do is manage the chain of events as it happens. That's what we're trying to do. Derry Quinn, how do you reach out to people who don't really get too into their religion, but hold on to their beliefs because they don't see any harm in it? What is your opinion of such people? Okay. The last billboard that American Atheists put up said that religion is a scam, that all religions are scams. Part of the scam of religion is that people can be religious and give them and not see it as harm. Not see it as harm to go into church, not see it as harm to write a check, not see it as harm to do what their preacher says, even though they don't really believe what the preacher says. That's part of the scam. It's a brilliant scam. Let's not underestimate the power of this scam. What we do to reach out to those people, and when we're talking about here is the people who don't really get into their religion. That's kind of a broad statement. There are several kinds of people who don't really get into their religion, but really the two that I care about are those that really believe and those that really don't. And if they really believe in their religion, they're going to get into it. I would suggest that those who really don't get too high into their religion aren't believers in the first place. They need to be called out. They need to be woken up to the fact that they know it's a scam. They know it's a myth. Why the hell are they on their knees? Why the hell are they writing their checks? These are the people who you have to call out. If you had to choose just one thing that this is from Capison. If you had to choose just one thing normal atheists could do in our daily lives to promote atheism, what would it be? Okay, let me show you what it would be. This is a sweatshirt. See the sweatshirt? It's got the American Atheist logo on the front and the back. Wear one. Wear it to the airport. Wear it to the mall. Wear your atheism on your sleeve. The one thing that the one thing that atheists can do on a regular basis is to be outed, as out as possible. Everybody needs to know that you're an atheist. Everybody at work, everybody at your office, and every single one of your friends needs to know who and what you are. And strangers need to know who and what you are. The one thing that people can do to help this cause is to put a face on the word. Get out as possible. Now, the next follow-up question was you'd like to see a top 5 things. Wear a shirt that says that you're an atheist as often as possible. Make sure everybody knows that you're an atheist. Join a group. It doesn't have to be American Atheists, although American Atheists is a fine group to join. We're very efficient and we use your donation dollars very well. But we're not the only ones, and you might not agree with everything that we do. There are lots of secular groups out there. Find one or find 3 and join them. Join a local group. Make sure that your local group sees you and take part in their activities. Don't just go to one meeting. Take part in the activities of the local group and come to a convention. As many conventions as you can, and I'll tell you why. Because your conventions, when you come to a convention, not only will you learn things, but you will feel included. I'll tell you something. It's something to walk into a room full of 500 atheists. A lot of you seeing this video have never done that before. It's awesome. You need to do that. It's for yourself. Why do you feel that the USA has a particularly hard time with religion and a mistrust of science? Okay. Because science and religion don't get along, and they never will. Science and religion will never get along because religion is all about not learning and science is all about learning. The reason that we have this terrible mistrust, I guess you'd call it that, is because that mistrust is earned, all right? Science doesn't trust religion because religion will lie, and religion doesn't trust science because science will overturn religion and prove it wrong, all right? This is going to happen over and over and over again, and it is my contention that those people who say, oh, science and religion can get along, are woefully incorrect and are blinding themselves to the fact that religion and science can and will not ever get along. Now, one of the things that we have a problem with in this country is the education system. The education system is, in my opinion, one of our major failures. When we look at the education system, we are taught to memorize and regurgitate and take standardized tests. We are not taught critical thinking in our public schools. We're taught to memorize and regurgitate. Think about that. It sounds a little like religion, doesn't it? It doesn't sound like, does this really make sense? When it really should be, does it really make sense? We really should be learning that more. That's why religion has such a stronghold in this country, is because our people, Americans aren't dumb, they're just uneducated, or I should say, educated poorly. All right. Born again Gropaga. Born again Gropaga. What do you think about the popular mock religious figures, e.g., the flying spaghetti monster and the invisible pink unicorn? Thank you, by the way, for saying that the invisible pink unicorn is indeed invisible and pink. Helpful analogies to today's accepted religions, or merely insulting straw men? No, they are not insulting straw men, or at least they're not straw men. They're not straw man arguments. They may be insulting, but they're also very good analogies. Anything that you can say to produce evidence for the God of your choice can be used to produce evidence for the flying spaghetti monster. How did the tides come? What makes the tides go in and out? What made the moon come? You know, think of the Bill O'Reilly interview. Well, the flying spaghetti monster did it is just as good an answer as God did it. It's a very good tool, and I love it. And as far as the invisible pink unicorn, I am, as many of you know, a Camp Quest counselor. We do have an invisible pink unicorn at Camp Quest. He's undetectable, and you can't. And anyone who proves that he isn't there gets a $100 bill. Guess what? Can't prove he's not there. So, it's a great analogy for a God that also isn't there. I love the invisible pink unicorn, and I love the flying spaghetti monster. Do you consider yourself, this is from Skeptics, do you consider yourself an anti-theist? And there was a whole bunch of follow-up questions on this. His wife is Jewish. My wife is Jewish. And there's one other point. I don't think anti-theist is so much anti-theists as much as anti-theism. And I agree with that. I have no problem against theistic people. I'm married to a theistic person, and I've been married to her for 20 years. I do, however, view myself as an anti-theist because I think religion is inherently evil. I think religion is inherently bad, and I think the world would be much better off without it. Now, that does not mean that I think religion should be outlawed or that religion should be, well, I don't think religion should be outlawed in any way. What I do think is that people need to be educated as to how harmful religion is and how bad it can affect an individual, a family, and a society. People need to understand that religious modernity is still religion, and it still has a negative effect, one of which is it makes you think you need it, and you don't need it. Nobody needs religion. If anybody needed religion, we would all need religion. The fact is that religion tells you you need it, and some people believe it, and that is all part of the scam. Religion is a scam. All religion is a scam, and I'm going to stand by that statement firmly. So am I an anti-theist? I guess you could call it that, but I do not have any sort of problems with religious people. I have a problem with religions on the whole. Satuki. To be honest, I was a little disappointed in your "you know it's a myth" and "you know they're all scams" billboards. I can appreciate what the intended goal was, but I don't think the message was conveyed clearly and that they needed to be explained. Okay, I disagree. Let me, and then Satuki suggests, why not putting up Bible verses of the less popular Bible verses to show how barbaric the Bible is. Putting up Bible verses to show how barbaric the Bible is a good idea. But here's an important point. It's already been done. The American Humanist Association is a great group. Shout out to Roy Speckert and Dave Neosi. They're great people. They're very smart, and they did this. If you hadn't heard of it, well, it's out there. You should look. Quite frankly, "You Know It's a Myth" was much more successful, and I'll tell you why. Because it hit hard. To say that it didn't hit, or to say that the message wasn't conveyed, I'm sorry, I completely disagree with you. The message was conveyed very clearly. Preachers were preaching about the billboards. Television shows were talking about it. They had panel discussions about the billboards. We were on TV not only all over America several times, but in Canada, England, Colombia, Romania, Russia, and Poland, and New Zealand. It was an incredible amount of publicity that we got. You know it's a myth. I think the point got across very well, and you will be able to see more of them. Now, like I said, you might not agree with me. If you don't agree with me, check out one of the other groups. But the I just completely disagree with the whole concept that it's a myth or they're all scams was anything other than 2 Grand Slam home run billboards, both of which really did much more than they were expected to do. Born again, Gropaga again. When Bill said calling religion a scam was calling religious people stupid, I wish Dave would have drawn an analogy to expose those power balancing wristbands as a scam. Well, you know what? We could always look back and say, well, I wish I'd said this, I wish I said that. I think those power balance wristbands, I think you're talking about the magnets on the wristbands. Scams are scams are scams, okay? I would have liked better to go into the homeopathy, because homeopathy is always a scam, even if people believe it. It's always a scam. There are 2 parties in a scam, the scammer and the scamee. And of course, the scamee can scam unintentionally, and that's what happens in religions. People who believe it, people who believe the scam promote the scam, but it's still a scam. And we have to understand that. However, when you're dealing with Bill O'Reilly, and I'm going to get to that in a couple questions down, when you're dealing with Bill O'Reilly, you have seconds to talk. You don't have a conversation. You have seconds to talk, and it makes it a lot more difficult. So Dan Korb says, why didn't you explain to Bill how the tides work? Okay, you have to understand, when you do a normal talk show, if I did even Fox and Friends, if you do an 8-minute segment, you're going to have 3 minutes to talk, maybe 4. But if you do Bill O'Reilly, you do not have 3 minutes to 4 minutes to talk. You have tiny sound bites. Tiny sound bites before he interrupts you. He's not going to let me say something that I don't want to. He's not going to let me go into anything, all right? So Bill hits me with tide goes in, tide goes out. And if you watch my face, you can see where I understand what's going on. In fact, the next question is, what exactly ran through your mind when you made the now popular face? All right. Just backtracking a second. I had a good couple of minutes with Bill O'Reilly one-on-one before the cameras went on. He's intelligent. He speaks normally. He lets me finish my sentences. He has a firm handshake. He looks me in the eyes. He's educated. He knew who Madeleine Murray O'Hara was. He knew who Annie Laurie Gaylor is. He knew Ron Barrier. We had a discussion. And then the camera goes on and the claws come out and we start battling back and forward. Now, I know that he's going to let me talk for maybe a few words each time before he interrupts me. And I know that I have to talk over him in order to get my point across. I know this. So we're getting into it, and he comes out with this tide goes in, tide goes out question. And that's when I realized, and you can watch it on my face, that's when I realized I'm talking to a fictional character. That's when I realized he's trying to trip me up, and he's trying to divert me from my subject matter. If I had said, well, Bill, of course we know how the tides are gone in, he would have gone into, well, how did the moon get there? Immediately. He wouldn't have let me go follow on with the, but this is what I want to talk about. He would have said, he would have diverted the conversation. As soon as I'd said, well, we know how the tides got, the moon did it. Well, how did the moon do it? I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. So I'm not going to let him do that. When Bill O'Reilly asks a question, it's up to me to decide whether or not I'm going to answer that question. And I made the decision on the fly, no, I was not going to answer that question. I'm going to talk about Zeus. I'm going to make an example of how this is an argument from ignorance, and it can be used for anything like Thor or Zeus. And by the way, yes, I do know that Thor did not live on Mount Olympus. I knew that when I said it too. But I wanted to make the argument from ignorance very, very clear. Maybe Thor did it. That was a decision that I made in real time. I think it was a good decision. And given the opportunity, I would decide it again. What exactly ran through my mind? That was when I realized that I was talking to a fictional character. That's when I realized that the intelligent Bill O'Reilly, the calm and knowledgeable Bill O'Reilly that I had talked to before this show was not sitting in front of me right now, and that I had to play a serious game. CMOS. Did you raise your son an atheist, or did he end up being one on his own? Of course, children tend to have the same beliefs as the parents, whether the parents push them towards them or not, but I'm curious if you guided him towards science and reason, or let him figure it out on his own. Okay. First of all, I have a daughter, not a son, and she is an atheist. But remember, I have a mixed marriage. My wife is Jewish, so we exposed her to both sides, as most mixed marriages do. I have been an atheist since I was 6, and my daughter has been an atheist since she was 6. I have not pushed anything on her. I have not made her an atheist. In fact, I've tried not to. I've gone way out of my way to say, hey, you know, here's a whole bunch of books that you can read on the subject. I did, in fact, give my daughter a Bible and ask her to read it. But the fact is that she's a preteen, or she was a pre-teenage. Now she's a teenage girl. And because I've asked her to read the Bible, she won't read the Bible. She does own one. And maybe she's reading it, and maybe she's read it and not told me about it. I've also provided Dawkins and Hitchens and Harris to her, and she wants nothing to do with any of it. So she's a little on the dogmatic side right now. I wish she would be more educated, but hopefully she will be as the years come. So the only guidance that she has received towards atheism really is watching me occasionally on television and asking me a few questions. That's it. During your time as president of American Atheists, what is your favorite accomplishment, and what is your worst blunder? P.S. How hard is herding cats? Okay, these are good questions. Now, I've only been president now for 4 months, so it's not like I have this huge resume of things to do. My favorite accomplishment, I was going to say it was the Myth Billboard, but really my favorite accomplishment is reinstituting the Rams. We had our first regional atheist meet in Alabama this past weekend. It has to be my favorite accomplishment because we sold out at 150, and then we increased the size of the venue, and then we sold out again at 200 people in Alabama. And I'm not knocking Alabamans, because I can't do that anymore, because Alabama is filled with atheists. And when I asked during my speech how many people are here for the first time as your first atheist event, I would say nearly half of the crowd raised their hand. And that was with the scams billboard, which cost American Atheist members $2,300 total. So I think the greatest accomplishment that I've done so far, yeah, I think the Myth Billboard was a knock out of the park. But I think the fact is that the Huntsville Ram was a huge success. It was also a money maker, not only for American Atheists, but even more importantly for the local group, the North Alabama Free Thought Association, with 39 new members. 39 new members just from the Ram, and a chunk of sales and a chunk of donations. Nice. So it benefited everybody, and it really justified the whole push for the local partnership and for the Rams. It justified the whole concept. That's my favorite thing. My worst blunder, fortunately I haven't had any major blunders, but I will tell you that my worst blunder is what you're looking at right now. The Atheist Viewpoint has fallen behind schedule. It's my fault. And that's something that I'm going to need to be delegating off to other people. Thank you to Ken Lukinnon, who is going to help us do the editing and get us back on schedule. Kazim. Hi, David. Oh, how hard is it herding cats? I'm not herding cats. I'm not herding cats. What I'm doing is I'm leading away, and I'm allowing cats to follow. I'm allowing atheists to follow. And that's what American Atheists is doing. It turns out that it's not a matter of herding cats at all. It's a matter of having a good plan that people understand, that people can follow, and people want to follow because it benefits everybody. That's how you herd cats. It's not about herding. It's about leading and bringing a nice can of tuna fish, and people will follow it. And that's why it's actually not at all like herding cats. And I have to do a shout out to every member of every executive of every major organization out there, that we're all working together, and it's a wonderful thing. Okay, so I am out of time for this episode of American Atheist Viewpoint. There will be a part 2 because I've got more questions. So I'm going to wrap it up now. By the way, before we do, listen, American Atheists is America's premier nonprofit organization for non-religious people. We have a national convention coming up in Des Moines, Iowa. It's on April 21st to the 24th. And if you're a student, you can come to the convention and get membership in American Atheists for $20. $20. Christopher Hitchens will be there. Greta Christina will be there. Matt Dillahunty, P.Z. Myers, Jeff Charlotte, plus a special guest that I can't announce yet, plus comedy from Troy Conrad and from Chris Harper and from somebody else that I can't tell you yet, but it's going to be great. Listen, if you want to have a good time, get to Des Moines. Okay, it's at the Embassy Suites. They sleep 4 in a room. So it's going to be a very inexpensive event. You get free breakfast. So it's going to be a very inexpensive event. $20 for students. All the way up till convention, all the way up till April is going to be the price. $20 includes the convention and membership. Come to Des Moines. I'm David Silverman. Thank you for watching The Atheist Viewpoint. We'll see you next time.